20 years of flame. I have been married for 20 years and have 2 children. Last Friday night I was in the living room, and when I went to the bedroom, I noticed that my wife had fallen asleep listening to music on her phone. I turned off the music on her phone and noticed a text message from Tim. I opened the message and I was devastated. My heart sunk into my stomach and I felt like vomiting. They were calling each other babe, and she said that she was and asked him if he would like to join, and they were also speaking about running at the park in the mornings. I also read an email where he was calling her beautiful and was asking her what time she was getting off work and that he was stopping at the store to pick up food. I woke her after reading the message and confronted her. She said that she was sorry and that he was gay and they were just friends. I left the house in a rage and returned a while later. I found out a few days later that as soon as I left the house, she sent him a text. When I returned, she said that nothing physical was going on and that she has never been to his house. She said that they meet up at the park to run and that he is her gay friend. I asked her how many other messages there were, and she said that they didn't communicate that often. I went online and got her phone and text records a few days later and found out that they were calling each other multiple times a day and texting at each other as late as 3 in the morning. While I was sleeping, she was texting him while we were on vacation, and she would call him on the weekends when we were together. She said that there were other dirty messages, but she would not be specific. She lied about the number of calls and messages. She texted the guy when I left the house in a rage. She went running with this guy without my knowledge. She was texting with him. I texted him and asked him what was going on, and he said nothing was going on and that he was gay. This was after my wife had contacted him. I told her that I have software that can recover all text messages on her iPhone and that I wanted to read all of the old messages. She was angry by this request and said that if I did that she would leave. I told her that if they were only friends that she should have nothing to hide. She said that she didn't want to hurt me further by reading the other messages. She said that she contacted him and told him that they could no longer be friends. She says that she is sorry and that it will never happen again. I can't trust her anymore. I want to know what was on those messages and what was on the message that she sent him when I left the house. I love her, but I am sad, angry, depressed, and I feel betrayed. She would like us to put this in the past, but I can't rest without knowing more. Comments. Settle down. You confronted early, but I've been there and it's impossible not to. With that said, let me remind you that this is an addiction, and once you settle down things will pick up and you may be able to get more answers. She will even take it deeper underground and start using other forms to communicate other than the one you caught her with. For now, I suggest you back off and quietly investigate OM. In doing this you will be able to confirm his desires. Second, if he's married or has a boy girlfriend, then you can expose this to them. Once you get the ball rolling, hell, even hire a pie if you can afford one and get as much as you can on this guy. You will at least have a better idea on what you're dealing with. The main point to all of this is you need to quietly continue to investigate, since you will never get the truth from your WW. Once you can get some more facts, then you can make better choices. An accurate decision that are based on fact does not lie. Don't forget to plant a VAR and GPS and look for prepaid sell. With patience and strength, you might be able to get more answers than what you have now. So, go stealth and give her enough rope, she will reveal more. It will just take a few days. I hope I'm wrong and she starts to show you some true remorse. But again, this is very addictive behavior. Most likely she will refuse to stop all contact with her boyfriend. The fact remains, until all contact stops with OM, you are in an impossible situation and you must continue to validate her recommitment and that there is in fact no more contact. Then and only then can she begin to fix this. OP responds, I downloaded the data from her phone and I did not expect to find what I did. Not only was she sleeping with one guy from work, she was also sleeping with a second guy from work. Just when I thought things could not be worse. At least I know the truth now and I can move on with my life. This really sucks. She says that she is sorry and that she has ended her relationships. She would like to seek professional help and try to work things out. I am trying to concentrate on the kids. The gay guy was one of her co-workers that she was sleeping with. He no longer works for the company. The other guy still works with her and used to be her supervisor. This is the first 2 guys that I know about, and it took me a few days to find all of the clues. Both are single and are friends with each other. They were passing my wife around the office. I want to go to her office tomorrow and confront the guy that still works there, but I'm sure I will get my wife fired and she will need her job in order to take care of my kids. I told her entire family and they are furious that she ruined my life and the kids. I sent messages to both men on Facebook and told them how they ruined my marriage. My wife was upset with this and asked me if I sent the message to both men at the same time, and I was puzzled at why she was asking this, and then it dawned on me that even though the men know each other, they have no idea that the other is sleeping with her. So, I sent another message to each of them letting them know that she is sleeping with the other. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to immediately text them to apologize. This tells me that she really has not ended anything. I told her that I would go to a therapist, hopefully today, for the sake of the kids, but we are really too far gone to salvage anything. She is an emotional roller coaster. She would get angry, then depressed, then everything would be great. Over the years I just accepted this as normal, as did the kids. I think she is defiantly sorry that she got caught. She lost me, my son. I told him everything. He is 19, and her family. My 13-year-old daughter is the only one that doesn't know the truth. Comments, what the duck? She wanted to text them to apologize. She shows no remorse for what she's done to you by adding insult to injury. Must show you where you and your marriage rank in her priorities. Don't her sway you, as she needs to suffer some consequences if you want to take control of the situation. OP responds, one of the guys, he is not gay. She told me that he was gay so that I would think that they were just messing around on text message and that there was nothing physical. They were sleeping plenty of times. I can't expose my wife. We have kids and she will need her job to take care of them when we divorce. I don't want the kids to suffer more than they have. She makes decent money and it would be harder on the kids and me without her income. My kids are my first priority right now. Divorce is coming very shortly. Need to prepare the papers and agreement carefully. The last thing I need is a wife who sleeps with random co-workers. Story 2. Apologies beforehand for the lengthy narrative. I have been lurking the last week or so and feel I want to share my story for help. Assistance. Married to my beautiful wife, almost 9 years this June with 3 amazing kids, 7, 5, 1. About a month ago, my wife hit me with the bombshell, to which I was completely devastated and shocked. My first response during the next few days was, like most men I assume, trying to solve the problem and suggesting that it was just a phase. Little did I know that it would evolve into much more than a phase. Her reasoning for I love you but not in love with you is that I haven't really changed the last few years. During many of our heated arguments I tend to classically withdraw or paint my wife in such a way that I feel she is trying to control me. My inability to change thus far has led her to require less and less of me over time, and she just stopped asking for stuff, stopped asking me to change or do anything. Let me say that I try to be very active around the house, cleaning when necessary, helping with the kids, so it's not that. I provide financially and consider myself a pretty active dad. Her needs are more attention, listening, understanding how she feels, and for me to not withdraw during arguments or always solve her problems. Around the same time, she said I love you but not in love with you. She also made an emotional connection with someone. One seemed to trigger the other. It was 2 to 3 hours, conversation and a few emails, texts over the period of 2 weeks. After I found out, wife told me that the other man listened, was attentive, the things that I had not done the last 2 years. There was no P. I do not know if this qualifies as an E or not, but she feels a connection. I discovered all of this by snooping. She had changed her email, FB passwords, and I eventually uncovered everything almost 3 weeks ago. She had scheduled a time to meet with other man on April 1st for 2 HRS. I found out beforehand and confronted her about it, and during a heated argument asked that she leave the house, not come back, and that I was done with our relationship. I can't be sure, but this could have been an awakening of sorts for her. She returned later that night and we talked, and she said she would sever communication with the OM, give me her email, FB passwords to reestablish trust, and make an effort to work on the relationship. Since then, she said, as early as a week ago, that she still thinks about OM, how he's doing, even indicated that she was slightly depressed about it, but insists she will not act on it. She tells me that she loves me, almost like she loves our kids, but as of now, is not in love with me. I have made all of the classic blunders these last few weeks, snooping, lying about the snooping and getting caught, told her parents about the EA and what was going on. Only B, C, I didn't have anyone else to talk to about it, confronting, pleading. I've suffocated her with articles, website, books I'm reading, found out the OM cell, home hash, email, home address, and told wife what I know about him, almost every classic blunder. Yes, I've done them all during this brief period. I purchased Divorce Busters this week and have given her space these last 3 to 4 days, started yoga yesterday, and have joined this board today in the hopes of getting my wife back. We've gone to MC, 1 couple sessions so far, 2 individuals for me, and we have couples sessions scheduled for next week. She doesn't think the MC sessions will help her feel any different. I had planned on taking her out to dinner after the session and she has agreed. Is it too soon for that if she agreed? I'm so lost and am unsure of what to do at this point. There's been no contact with the other man in almost 2 weeks, which I assume is a good thing. Do I continue to ask her about this? Is she thinking about him, emotional affair, and not telling me? She said it was more of what he did than anything. She's not a walk-away wife, still wearing our rings, doesn't want to leave the house. We sleep in the same bed. There's no real hostility towards one another, but there's also little conversation. She has an excellent moral code but made a bad decision during her weakened state. I get that. Rather than husband, wife, we appear to be roommates or friends at this point. I'm just so confused on how to approach this and would sincerely appreciate any guidance or direction at this point. The last few weeks I did what I thought was appropriate, and that has had the opposite effect. She has the I don't know syndrome at the moment when I ask her what she wants. She wants happiness but can't define it. She doesn't know if happiness equals staying together or separation, divorce. Every question ends in an I don't know answer. She suggested that she doesn't know, at her present state, if staying together for the sake of the kids is enough but doesn't want to be the one who breaks up the family. She must be wrestling with so much that it hurts me too. Individual space seems to be working at the moment, but is there such a thing as too much space? Will she see that as my not wanting to engage her? Is the I love you but not in love with you something that can be overcome with time and patience? Is it a decision based on my past inabilities to change, and if so, can she make the decision to love again as she sees positive changes? I've made a number of observable changes that I think she's noticed but has not said anything, which I expect her not to. I'm just such a different person now, in the way I think, feel, and speak. The person I think she's always wanted, and deserved, all along. But is it too late? Am I too late? She wants to give it a try to see if our marriage can work. But for how long? How long do I have? As you can see, I have so much going on in my head right now and would be much obliged for some help. 1. I did my own detective work and uncovered and confronted wife about the EA. 2. I exposed it for what it was and did so to her parents. I'm waiting for the tipping point of when this will sway back and being able to salvage the marriage. I may need to be patient. When doing the 180, is it about going completely dark while maintaining civility at the same time? Other pertinent details: me, 34, and wife, 30. I support financially, though my wife does have a work-from-home job. She enjoys being able to stay at home with kids and has also thought what a D would mean for her. I'm sure that's a motivator for her, but it shouldn't be the driver to reconcile. As of late, I've done a few things. 1. Ironically, lost so much weight from this that I'm down 2 pant sizes, 34 to 32. 2. Started wearing the cologne again that I used to wear in college. She loved it. 3. Started yoga classes, which has been very helpful. 4. Wait for her to call, chat me while I'm at work. 5. No I love you in almost a week. Just a question on the nature of an emotional affair. Whether it was for my benefit or hers, I've been rather dismissive about the whole thing. I told her that it was like a trip to Orlando. When the trip is over, it's back to reality. She has said that the emotional affair is perhaps deeper than I am willing to admit. Is there something to that, and is there anything I can do? Again, there's been no contact in almost 2 weeks as I have monitored cell phone records, email, computer, etc. And at this point, she's more or less wondering what the other man is up to. I believe I did catch it early on before it was allowed to persist over time, and I think she's in a period of withdrawal and limbo at this point. The more I found out, the guiltier she was about the whole thing. My thinking on this is that she was more embarrassed about being caught than feeling guilty. It was only when I threw her out after uncovering a scheduled meeting did she come to her senses and fess up all the details. Since that time, there's been no incoming, outgoing contact that I am aware of. She's adamant that there are no other details besides a 2-hour conversation and a few text emails. I told her if any additional details come up, I'm gone. I'd leave, no questions if I found something out at this point. Something where she tried to make contact again. No bluff about it, and I think she realizes it. I threw her out last time when she initially lied 2 weeks ago, and I have no problems with doing it again. I've done things these last 2 years to get us to this point that I realize. I'm awake now and am working on remedying past transgressions. Going to MC, reading self-help, but I'm no doormat. I will do anything to keep my family intact. After poking and prodding last night, wife mentioned the possibility that she could love him, having regular thoughts about him, but is still adamant about not acting on it. Is the fact that she hasn't acted on it, or so she tells me, enough at this point? She says she's trying and that I'm being impractical and not patient about this. WTF, this is still infidelity, isn't it? With wife's feelings the way that are at present, I cannot see any way back to reconciliation. Am I wrong here? Purchased new clothes today, purchased a weight set, purchased book. All of which felt great, but whatever, and I'm considering meeting with an attorney next week. Any thoughts on this? Too soon to do so. Do I do it discreetly and not share the meeting or use it as possible leverage? She's a stay-at-home mom who, at present, is financially dependent on me. Is the preferred approach business as usual as far as life goes for me? Don't approach her with indifference, be polite, but not a chump. Update from the last few days as I have been dealing with stuff on the home front. Bombshell hit yesterday. Found wife at a park with other man, along with my 1-year-old daughter. I'm crushed, betrayed, devastating, and more importantly, appalled that my youngest child was brought into this. Confronted OM and told him to stay the duck away from my family. Took everything not to beat him with a crowbar. Couldn't gauge complete reaction, but wife didn't seem remorseful or filled with grief. Seemed more shocked at getting caught. Perhaps it was shock and that will all set in today. I'm tempted to blow the roof off of this thing and I'm looking for suggestions. I called her parents yesterday, which wife already knows I did this. Do I call other man parents? Work number. Don't have it but wish I did. Are my reactions justified? Exactly how far do I go with this, and is it only to fulfill my own need for retribution? She had a friend facilitate the meetup on Sunday. Does she feel my wrath as well? Wife should live in basement until we figure things out, correct? I have an individual MC session tonight that wife wants to attend. For what? I really like my therapist. He was supportive of my feelings and endorsed calling OM, etc. a nice guy, and he's been through a similar situation and could empathize. An update that I'd like to share and see if I perhaps pushed her in this direction all along. The subject of I think I could love him came up last weekend, as I mentioned. Upon hearing this, I told her between Sunday that I thought I was done and didn't feel I could work on the R anymore. I backtracked Sunday night telling her that it was hearing the word could love that hurt and prompted my response. She tells me she closed herself off at hearing that I was done, and a situation presented itself on Sunday to meet with OM yesterday, and she took it. Another update to share. Adrenaline juices are still flowing from this. Had the chance to finally pick up where I left off and called Other Man today. Felt liberating and that a heavy weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Asked Other Man if his father gave him my message. Answered yes. Told him to stay the duck away from my family and that I would stay away from his. Told him that I learned more about him than he cared to know. Told Ducker not to test my resolve and that if he attempted contact in any way, I'd hunt him down at work and X him up. Going to my therapist to share in the good news. For me, this is considered a good day. 1 month later, my situation is that I was approached about transferring back to my home area for a position of increased responsibility and pay. There are a multitude of reasons as to why I think this could be a good thing for us. Moves my immediate family back, and close to our secondary family. Increase in pay, if it comes to D for us. I can better support family needs. Moves my wife back closer to her mom, which is a relationship that I damaged greatly by involving her when I found out about Other Man. I feel I owe it to wife and MIL to help mend the relationship that I broke. Lastly, I just can't live here anymore. Every day, I drive by park where she met Other Man that I busted up 2 weeks ago. She had my 18-month-old daughter with her. Driving by makes me sick to my stomach and my heart breaks a little each day. She has a friend who helped facilitate meetups. Wife. Other Man. Yes, wife made decision to do this, but toxic friend played a part. That's not a friend to me, and yet, she still continues to talk with her. I understand that our problems still go with us if we move, but for me, there's reason to be hopeful here. Wives see things differently than I do at this point. She's against the move, although she has said that she could perhaps entertain it at some point, just not at this point. She has said, as of today, that if I get, and take, the job that we will need to work out arrangements for the time being. She will stay in Pittsburgh while I work in Philadelphia, unsure of what to do. Job is a great opportunity for the above-cited reasons, and yet I feel so guilty for entertaining the idea of it. It's a great opportunity, and yet I still feel guilty. Wife is adamantly against it at this point. Says that it's symbolic of my wanting to control things. Affair was an emotional affair and lasted for almost 4 weeks, via email, text messaging, and few botched meetings that I uncovered. For all I know, it is still going on underground, and as stated, by my leaving. If I leave, it only furthers wife's resolve to continue with emotional affair. Still early on the process, and I expect there to be 2 to 3 interviews. Promising though. Question on the kids. Would I need a court order to take the kids? I assume I couldn't just take them and go. I'm basically being told by wife that this is my decision to move 350 miles away from my family and that I'm effectively ending any chance at R. Half a year later. During this time, in my haste to also implode the emotional affair, I told her parents and did all that I could do to save my marriage and 3 kids. I take accountability as to the reasons for why the wife had the emotional affair. My emotional unavailability, inability to listen, and quite frankly, we had grown distant and apart through time. Looking back, we never dealt with our issues and communicated what that other was thinking. There were several attempts to stop contact with Other Man that didn't take until June 2019. It was then that we had started to really address our issues, and for the last few months until late, things have gone quite well. We were beginning to reconnect, spend time with other couples, date again, and connect in ways that I hadn't thought possible while all of this was going on. From March until June, I was at my lowest. I lost about 25 pounds, had chronic anxiety and stress. Work has suffered, etc. It only recently came out that I had also told my parents in June what was going on. At her initial asking of this 2 weeks ago, I did my own form of trickle truth. Told wife that I told parents we were seeing a counselor. Then finally told wife that, yes, I had told my parents all details. Exchanged text messages, emails, a meetup at a park, etc. My parents know it all. Obviously, my wife is devastated. Devastated that I told my parents about her and Other Man in June, and moreover, is crushed that I initially lied about it and wasn't truthful. Me, I feel like a complete jerk because I spent so much time work on the things that needed to improve and she's now questioning the authenticity of my changes. So, I now feel like things are on shaky ground and wonder. From collective experiences of reconciliation. What else can I do to rebuild what I may have lost? Wife and I are on really good speaking terms now, and she wants for us to make it work, but doesn't believe, at the moment, that I'm being honest. We've both lied to each other for months now, and I believe she is sincere in wanting to work through this. Aside from, hey, dummy, be honest with her. Does anyone have sage-like wisdom to pass along? In hindsight, telling my parents was most certainly a terrible idea. In June, I felt like we were done and I had no one to talk to about it. I felt alone, but do not excuse what I did. As an aside, I plan on visiting with a counselor this week to begin talking through issues. Love TV's comment. This OP doesn't know to defend, a forever doormat. But look at the bright side. He has kept one cheater off the market. Bonus story 3. My husband left 2 weeks ago. I'm not happy about it and would really like to reconcile, but I am working on myself and just hoping he comes to the table. Not looking good so far. I have been paying his bills for 4 years. He worked about quarter of the time but never made nearly enough money to live on. Never mind help me with thousands in credit card debt racked up because he couldn't find a job. Really, I think he just didn't want to work a 9 to 5. He wants to have his own business but doesn't move forward because he isn't resourceful enough to figure out how to find investors. Etc. Despite my constant advice as a new entrepreneur myself, I am now stuck with bills in both our names such as a car lease I can't afford. He is driving the car. I paid my car off on my own. And he isn't doing anything to work on our marriage. I am sick of it. I am going to try cancel his health insurance Monday. Yep, I'm paying for both of us. And other things I do have control over. I want to cancel his car insurance, but if he gets into an accident I'll be screwed as my name is on the car lease along with his. Our car financing company doesn't allow anyone off a loan, or to trade the lease, so I am stuck. In my state we have to have a legal separation for 12 months before we can even divorce, so I'm really worried that I'll have to pay this stupid car lease for 2 more years if we do not reconcile. If we do not reconcile, he will have to leave the country 10 months from now because he is here on a 2-year green card that will expire then. At that point he wouldn't care that his credit is in the toilet, or even that he has debts. Because the courts can't touch him, other than selling my car, which is worth very little now, and driving the leased car for the next 2 years. Do I have any other options? I haven't spoken with a lawyer yet. Need to ask family for help to pay for one. I kind of want to go take the car. I have a second key, and hide it at a friend's where he will never find it. But I worry then he will never ever want to reconcile. I know I do not want a man who doesn't work. But he has been working really hard these last 2 weeks to get a job. Any job, so maybe I should wait a week or 2 to see if he will then take over the payments and make the time to go to counseling. He tells his parents he will go to counseling, they told me, but he hasn't made any plans with me. What would you do? All the red flags exist that tell me my husband is having an affair. He left a month ago. No kids, no contact. How do I find proof if I have no access to computer, email? No mutual friends. He conveniently has developed a new circle of friends over the last 6 months who I do not know. Just picked up divorce remedy from the library. So far nothing's new. I have spent many hours reading and learning in the wake of my husband's leaving 6 weeks ago. I just hit upon one point that I already knew but to me is the number one reason my husband left. Marriage doesn't make people happy. You can't rely on another person to fulfill you. Unless you feel satisfied with your own life, you will not be able to determine whether your unhappiness stems from personal or relationship issues. He never made a living. Always relied on me, always came up with excuses why he couldn't do what he really wanted for work, then blamed me for making him feel unloved and disrespected. I highly doubt he loves and respects himself. I wish I could compel him to read. After 3 months of sadness, I am overwhelmed with anger towards my STBX for literally walking away from all financial responsibility and leaving me to pick up the pieces. I am angry at myself for putting the credit in my name and co-signing his car, which he stopped paying for. I have to try to find him and take the car back this weekend. Insanity. Have to sell my beloved car which I just paid off to take over his lease payments. Losing my medical insurance because he stopped paying his part of the bill. Don't know where he lives. Can't call. Cell phone shut off. Guess why? There are many more issues. I can't eat. I have terrible nightmares and panic attacks. Can't afford therapy, electricity, rent or food. Friends are all married with kids and don't understand. I feel like I will be in debt until I'm ready to retire. I am so grateful for what I do have, but so scared for the future. Can't figure out how to get rid of this stress when creditors call non-stop and I can't pay for the basics. Anyone else going through this? Got a call from STBX's parents, who live in another country. I didn't answer for a few days thinking that there is nothing I can do for them nor them for me. But they didn't let up, so today I answered. Turns out they haven't heard from their son in a month or so. Maybe 2. As far as we know, he isn't working. He doesn't have a VAR or cell phone, and he is living with a female friend who he said is lesbian, but I think he is both. At the very least, she is his new BFF. And best, you know the drill. I have spent the last 4 months working to grieve, lose weight, concentrate on my family and work, etc. I still need to make some single friends. I am struggling with that as I just haven't had the time or energy to get out of my usual environment lately. I work a lot and then have family demands. Never mind the hours I spend on the phone most days trying to deal with the mountain of bills and debt my STBXH literally walked away from. See, unlike most of your exes, mine is from another country and couldn't care less about his credit here. So, if he doesn't pay bills, I am the only one whose financial life is ruined. Anyway, I'm slowly digging out of the paper mountain, slowly throwing away things that trigger me and making my space mine again, slowly learning to take care of my boundaries and feelings, to reach out when I need help, and to trust people who are trustworthy. 4 months, kind of hoped I would be ready to date again by now. I know now that it takes as long as it takes, but I sure do miss companionship. Just not ready to risk my heart yet. I tried to put it out there recently and it got a little squashed. I have more work to do. As I approach a year of separation, I will prepare to file, which will be difficult as the X is in the wind. What do you guys of these 3 short ones? I usually don't do 3 short ones. I'm spending quite a bit of time on this upcoming long story. So as always, sub and bell, and I will see